What if I told you the calmest person in the room is often the one everyone subconsciously watches? Not because they're loud, not because they dominate conversations, but because they don't react. In a world addicted to noise, explanations, and emotional outbursts, stillness feels unsettling. Most people rush to defend themselves. They fill silence. They reveal insecurity without realizing it. But Stoic philosophy teaches something radically different. True power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't chase approval. It doesn't need to prove anything. When you are deeply calm, unmoved by provocation, untouched by chaos, people begin to feel it, and that feeling makes them nervous. Not because you're threatening, but because you're uncontrollable. Today, I will break down 7 Stoic principles that help you develop this level of unshakable calm. The kind that shifts the atmosphere, exposes insecurity, and establishes quiet authority without a single word. Stay with me. This isn't about acting calm, it's about becoming it. 1. Calm is control, not passivity. Calm is often mistaken for weakness, but nothing could be further from the truth. Real calm is not submission, it is command. In any tense moment, an argument, a negotiation, a subtle challenge, power quietly shifts to the person who remains emotionally unmoved. Not because they are indifferent, but because they are in control. While others rush to react, explain, or defend, the calm individual stays grounded. Their breathing remains steady. Their posture doesn't collapse. Their tone doesn't sharpen. That alone changes the dynamic. Stoic philosophy places enormous importance on this idea. Epictetus taught that external events have no power over you unless you grant it through your reaction. The insult itself is neutral. The provocation is neutral. What determines strength or weakness is the response. When you react emotionally, you hand control away. You reveal where you're sensitive. You show what can be used against you. Calm does the opposite. It withholds information. Imagine a tense meeting where someone challenges your competence in front of others. One response is immediate defense, explaining, justifying, correcting. Another response is stillness, a pause, a calm look, a measured reply, or sometimes no reply at all. In that pause, something subtle happens. The aggressor begins to feel exposed. They spoke. You didn't rush to meet them. The imbalance unsettles them. That discomfort is not accidental. It's psychological. Calm people don't rush because they don't feel threatened. And when someone appears unthreatened, others instinctively reassess their position. Calm suggests confidence without performance, control without force. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this repeatedly in his private reflections. He reminded himself that losing emotional control was a kind of self-betrayal, not because emotions are wrong, but because uncontrolled emotion puts your inner state at the mercy of external chaos. Calm is not about suppressing emotion, it's about containing it. There's a crucial difference. Suppression leaks out eventually, through passive aggression, resentment, or burnout. Control, on the other hand, is intentional. You feel the emotion, you recognize it, then you decide what deserves a response and what doesn't. That decision is power. People who lack this control often mistake speed for strength. They believe quick reactions signal confidence. In reality, speed often signals compulsion. The need to respond immediately usually comes from a fear of losing status, being misunderstood, or appearing weak. Calm removes that fear. When you don't rush, you're saying, without words, that nothing here can knock you off center, that you are not fighting for approval, that you don't need to win the moment, and that message makes others nervous. Because they can't predict you, they can't read your emotional tells, they can't pull you into their frame. Calm becomes a boundary, an invisible one, and the more consistent that calm is, the clearer the message becomes. You are present, You are aware, and you are not easily moved. That is not passivity, that is control. 2. Silence forces others to reveal themselves. Silence is uncomfortable for people who rely on control. Not everyone, but those who manipulate through words, pressure, or emotional bait. They expect a reaction, a defense, a counterattack, something they can push against. When that reaction doesn't come, the dynamic shifts. Silence removes the feedback they depend on, and without feedback, people begin to talk more than they should. They over-explain, they justify, they escalate. In trying to regain control, they expose themselves. This is why silence feels powerful. It creates a vacuum. Stoic philosophy treats silence not as avoidance, but as observation. When you stop filling the space, you gain clarity. You see who becomes anxious, you notice who grows aggressive, you learn who respects boundaries and who doesn't. Words can lie, and patterns can't. Picture a situation where someone makes a passive-aggressive remark. The instinct is to correct them, challenge them, or clarify your intention. But when you don't immediately respond, when you simply look at them, calm and unmoved, they're forced to sit with their own behavior, and that moment is revealing. Some people soften. They realize they crossed a line. Others double down. They push harder, speak louder, or attempt humor to mask discomfort. Either way, you learn something valuable. Silence acts like a psychological mirror. It reflects a person's inner state back to them without distortion. And most people are not prepared to face what comes back. This is why Stoics valued restraint in speech. Not because words are dangerous, but because unnecessary words give away position. Every extra sentence reveals emotion. Every rushed explanation shows attachment. Silence, by contrast, keeps your inner state protected. There's another layer here. Silence also disrupts expectations. Many social interactions follow predictable scripts. Someone provokes. You respond. They counter. The exchange escalates. When you break that script, the other person has no rehearsed move. They're forced into improvisation, and improvisation reveals truth. This applies in relationships, workplaces, negotiations, even casual conversations. When you don't rush to fill silence, people often reveal their intentions through tone shifts, body language, or contradictions in what they say next. Calm silence doesn't need to be dramatic. It doesn't glare, it doesn't punish. It simply waits. Because that waiting communicates something subtle but powerful. You're not dependent on their approval, their validation, or their reaction. You are comfortable where you are, and comfort is threatening to those who operate on pressure. Silence also protects you from saying the wrong thing. Many regrets come from words spoken too quickly, out of anger, fear, or the need to be understood. Silence gives you time to decide whether a response is necessary at all. Often it isn't. People will sometimes accuse silence of being cold or arrogant, but that accusation usually comes from those who feel entitled to your emotional labor. They want reassurance. They want access. They want engagement on their terms. Silence denies that entitlement, and in doing so, it establishes quiet authority. Not by dominance, not by force, but by self-possession. When you are silent and calm, others are forced to confront themselves, and many find that far more unsettling than any argument you could have started. Silence doesn't hide weakness. It reveals strength. 3. Emotional detachment is intimidating. Emotional detachment is often misunderstood as coldness, as if not reacting means not caring, and Stoic philosophy draws a clear line between the two. Detachment is not the absence of feeling, it is the refusal to be controlled by feeling. In everyday life, many people influence others through emotional hooks. They provoke guilt, they trigger anger, they apply pressure through urgency, disappointment, or fear of rejection. These tactics work only when someone is emotionally attached to outcomes they can't control. Detachment breaks that mechanism. When you are emotionally detached, you don't chase reactions. You don't cling to approval. You don't fear being misunderstood. And that independence quietly unsettles people who are used to pulling strings, because they no longer know where your buttons are. This is why emotional detachment feels intimidating. Not aggressive, not dominant, but unpredictable. People feel safest when they know how to affect you. When they lose that access, they lose leverage. Stoics trained themselves to distinguish between what belongs to them and what doesn't. Your values, your choices, your actions, those are yours. Other people's opinions, moods, or reactions are not. Detachment begins the moment you stop confusing the two. Consider a situation where someone disapproves of your decision. The attached response is to explain yourself repeatedly, hoping to regain alignment. The detached response is calm acknowledgement without surrender. You listen. You decide whether their input is useful, and then you move on. No tension, no defensiveness, no emotional negotiation. So that posture communicates something powerful. Your center is internal. People sense that immediately. Emotional detachment also removes desperation from your presence. Desperation leaks out through tone, pacing, and body language. It shows up in rushed words and anxious explanations. Detachment slows everything down. Your voice steadies. Your movements become deliberate. You don't overinvest in how you're perceived. And when you stop trying to control perception, perception improves. There's a paradox here. The less you need others to validate you, the more seriously they take you. The less you react, the more weight your responses carry when you do speak. This isn't manipulation, it's alignment. You're no longer adjusting yourself to the emotional weather around you. You're grounded in something stable. And stability is rare in a world that lives on emotional swings. Some people will resist this shift. They may accuse you of being distant, uncaring, or arrogant. What they're really reacting to is the loss of influence. Emotional detachment removes their ability to steer you through guilt, pressure, or approval. That loss makes them uncomfortable. Stoics accepted this discomfort as the price of inner freedom. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that peace comes from wanting things to happen as they do, not as we wish they would. Detachment allows you to engage fully without being consumed. You can still care, you can still act, but you are no longer entangled, and that clarity changes how people respond to you. When emotions don't drag you around, you become harder to manipulate, harder to rush, and harder to destabilize. Others feel that solidity. They may not be able to explain it, but they sense that emotional tactics won't work here. That's why emotional detachment intimidates, not because it's cold, but because it's free. For calm makes people project their fears onto you. Deep calm doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how others interpret you. When you remain composed in situations where tension is expected, people begin to fill in the silence with their own assumptions. They look for meaning, they search for hidden intent, and in doing so, they project their inner fears onto you. This is a well-known psychological pattern. When someone cannot read your emotional state, their mind tries to complete the picture. And what it uses to complete that picture is not logic, it's insecurity. Your calm becomes a blank surface. They supply the story. In social situations, this often sounds like speculation. He's too quiet. She must be judging. There's something going on there. What's actually happening is simpler. They're uncomfortable with not knowing where they stand. Emotional ambiguity makes people anxious because it removes their sense of control. Stoic philosophy treats this as a neutral outcome, not a problem to fix. You're not responsible for managing other people's projections. Trying to correct them only deepens the dynamic. The more you explain, the more you confirm that their interpretation matters. Calm refuses that game. Consider a moment where you're criticized unfairly or misunderstood. One option is to rush in and clarify every detail, hoping to correct the narrative. Another is to remain steady, respond minimally if needed, and allow the truth to surface over time. The second option feels risky to those who depend on immediate approval. But it's precisely this restraint that creates authority. Projection reveals more about the observer than the observed. When someone assumes your calm hides arrogance, it often means they equate confidence with dominance because that's how they operate. When they assume manipulation, it's often because they themselves use emotional tactics. Calm exposes these patterns without accusation. This is why calm can feel threatening. It offers no emotional cues to lean on, no reassurance, no resistance, just presence. People accustomed to emotional feedback loops feel unmoored around that presence. They don't know if they're being accepted or rejected, and uncertainty triggers imagination. Imagination, when fueled by insecurity, turns inward. Stoics didn't seek to intimidate, but they understood that clarity of self creates friction for those who lack it. When your inner state is settled, it reflects the unsettled nature of others. That reflection isn't cruelty, it's a contrast. You don't need to correct assumptions, you don't need to manage impressions. Over time, consistency speaks louder than any explanation. Calm, repeated over time, becomes predictable in the best way. People eventually realize there is no hidden agenda, no emotional manipulation, just steadiness. Those who respect that steadiness grow closer. Those who need emotional leverage drift away. Both outcomes are useful. Projection only has power when you react to it. When you remain calm, it collapses under its own weight. The story runs out of fuel, and what remains is simple: your actions, your values, and your consistency. Calm allows people to see you as you are, not because you explain yourself, but because there's nothing to hide. That transparency, built on self-control, is what quietly establishes respect. And respect doesn't need to be announced. It settles naturally around those who don't chase it. 5. You stop explaining. They start respecting. Explanation feels harmless, even polite. But when it becomes habitual, it quietly weakens your position. Every unnecessary explanation signals uncertainty, not about facts, but about your right to decide. The more you justify yourself, the more you invite others to evaluate, debate, or approve your choices. Stoic philosophy warned against this long before modern psychology gave it language. When you explain yourself too much, you hand over authority you already possess. Respect doesn't grow from persuasion, it grows from clarity. Consider how often explanations are driven by discomfort. You sense tension, you feel misunderstood, you rush to smooth things over by adding context, backstory, reasoning. What you're really doing is asking for permission to stand where you already stand. Calm people don't do this. They state their decision once. They act. They let results speak. This restraint creates gravity. When you stop explaining, something interesting happens. People lean in. They listen more carefully. They begin to infer confidence. Not because you claimed it, but because you didn't need to defend it. Explanations invite negotiation. Silence closes it. This doesn't mean you never clarify. It means you choose when clarification serves truth, not comfort. There's a difference between explaining to inform and explaining to be accepted. The second erodes respect because it reveals dependence on others' agreement. Stoics aimed to live in alignment with reason and values, not public opinion. If an action is consistent with your principles, external validation becomes optional. When validation is optional, explanations become selective. People sense this immediately. They may test you at first, ask follow-up questions, push for justification. This is not curiosity. It's a boundary check. They want to see if pressure changes your stance. When it doesn't, the test ends. Respect is born at that moment. There's also a deeper psychological layer. Over-explaining overwhelms others. It floods the interaction with information that doesn't need to be there. Calm brevity, by contrast, suggests internal order, and internal order signals competence. Think of leaders who command respect. They don't narrate every decision. They don't preempt every criticism. They speak clearly, briefly, and move on. Their certainty creates safety. People trust what feels stable. Stopping explanation also protects your energy. Emotional labor is costly. When you constantly justify yourself, you drain focus that could be used to build, decide, or observe. Calm restraint conserves that energy, and conservation is power. Some will interpret your silence as arrogance. That interpretation often comes from those who benefited from your previous over-explaining. They lost access, they lost leverage. That loss creates resistance. Stoics accepted this trade-off willingly. They understood that not everyone needs to understand you for your actions to be valid. Peace comes from coherence, not consensus. When you stop explaining, you send a quiet message. I trust my judgment. I don't need approval to proceed. I'm comfortable standing alone if needed. That message is unmistakable. People may not like it, but they will respect it. And respect, unlike approval, doesn't fade when circumstances change. 6. Calm slows the game. Others panic. Speed creates the illusion of control. Urgency feels powerful, decisive, impressive. But urgency is often a mask for anxiety. When everything must happen now, it usually means someone is afraid of losing leverage if time enters the equation. Calm disrupts that illusion. When you slow down, your speech, your movements, your decisions, you introduce space, and space exposes imbalance. Those who depend on pressure begin to lose their footing the moment the pace drops. Stoic philosophy emphasized this advantage repeatedly. Acting in haste was seen as surrendering reason to impulse. Calm was not delay for its own sake, but deliberate timing, the ability to wait, observe, and choose. In any interaction, the person who controls the tempo controls the direction. Think about negotiations, where one side pushes for immediate agreement, framing delay as weakness or indecision. The calm response is not resistance, it's patience. A pause, a request for time, a willingness to walk away. That single shift often reverses the power dynamic, because panic needs momentum. When momentum stalls, panic surfaces. You see it in subtle ways. Voices rise, explanations lengthen, emotional appeals intensify. What was once confident becomes strained. The calm person doesn't need to say anything for this to happen. Their stillness does the work. Slowing down also improves perception. When you're not rushing, you notice contradictions. You catch inconsistencies in tone or language. You sense when someone is overselling a point. Calm creates clarity, and clarity is dangerous to manipulation. This is why calm makes others nervous. They feel time working against them while it works for you. Stoics trained themselves to resist artificial urgency. They understood that very few decisions are truly immediate. Most pressure is social, not real. It exists to force compliance before reflection can occur. Calm reclaims reflection. By slowing the game, you give yourself access to reason. And reason is the Stoics' primary weapon. Not aggression, not dominance, but alignment with reality. There's also a physical component. Calm slows the body, breathing deepens, movements become economical. This affects how others perceive you. A steady presence signals confidence in outcome. People assume you know something they don't. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you simply aren't afraid. Both create authority. Those who rush often project strength. Those who move slowly embody it. The calm suggests reserves of time, of options, of self-trust, and reserves intimidate those who are operating on limited emotional fuel. Slowing down doesn't mean disengaging. It means choosing when engagement is necessary. You speak when words add value. You act when action is aligned. Everything else is noise. This selective engagement frustrates those who thrive on reaction. They want speed because speed favors impulse. Calm denies them that advantage. Over time, this becomes visible. People stop trying to rush you. They adjust their pace to yours. The interaction stabilizes around your rhythm. That rhythm is power. Calm doesn't force. It doesn't chase. It sets the tempo and lets others reveal how well they can keep up. 7. Unshakable calm. Signals. Inner authority. Authority is not something you announce. It's something people sense before you speak. Unshakable calm is one of the clearest signals of that authority. Not the kind that comes from status or position, but the kind that comes from inner alignment. When your calm is consistent across pressure, criticism, and uncertainty, it tells a deeper story about who is in charge internally. And others respond to that immediately. Throughout every previous principle, a pattern has emerged. Calm keeps control internal. Silence reveals others. Detachment removes leverage. Projection exposes insecurity. Restraint earns respect. Slowness disrupts panic. Together, these form something larger than behavior. They form presence. Presence is felt, not analyzed. It shows up in posture that doesn't shrink, and to eye contact that doesn't challenge or avoid, and a voice that doesn't rush to be heard. None of this is forced. It's the natural outcome of not being internally pulled in multiple directions. Stoic philosophy viewed inner authority as the only authority that truly matters. External power can be taken. Reputation can shift. But self-command is stable, and stability radiates outward. People unconsciously look for this stability, especially in moments of uncertainty. When emotions run high, they gravitate toward whoever seems least affected, not because that person is cold, but because they appear anchored. That anchor creates trust. Unshakable calm also removes the need to dominate. Authority rooted in calm doesn't compete. It doesn't interrupt. It doesn't rush to assert. It allows others to speak, to react, and to reveal themselves, because it knows it doesn't need to win every moment to maintain position. This is why calm often intimidates louder personalities. Volume tries to replace certainty. Calm doesn't need replacement. There's a quiet confidence in someone who doesn't flinch when challenged, who listens without absorbing chaos, who remains steady when others escalate. That confidence doesn't provoke fear, it provokes awareness. People become more careful around it, not because they feel threatened, but because they feel observed. Calm attention carries weight. It suggests discernment. And discernment implies judgment, not harsh judgment, but clear perception. Stoics didn't seek to control others. They sought to control themselves. And paradoxically, that self-mastery made them influential without effort. Influence follows clarity. Authority follows self-command. Over time, unshakable calm becomes your reputation. Not something you defend or promote, but something others mention when you're not present. He doesn't get rattled. She stays composed no matter what. Those observations accumulate, and they change how people treat you. Boundaries are respected without being stated. Pressure decreases without confrontation. Your words carry more weight because they're rare and deliberate. That is inner authority in action, not rigid, not performative, not loud, just grounded. And grounding is magnetic. When you master calm, you stop needing control over others, because you've already achieved the only control that matters. Calm is not something you put on, it's something you grow into. Across every situation, pressure, conflict, to misunderstanding, the same truth holds. The person who governs themselves never needs to dominate others. When your reactions are steady, your silence intentional, and your pace unhurried, the world adjusts around you. That's Stoic power, not loud, not aggressive, not performative, just unshakable. You don't need to intimidate anyone. You don't need to explain yourself endlessly or prove your worth. When your calm comes from inner control, people feel it instinctively. And that feeling changes how they speak to you, challenge you, and respect you. So don't chase authority. Become aligned, become grounded, become still. Because when nothing can shake you, everything else loses its grip. And in a noisy world desperate for reaction, calm isn't just rare, it's formidable.